close to Florida.
Exactly. I actually get very low jitter to Singapore for some reason. Very, very high ping, but low
Well,
jitter.
obviously you're using the portion of the internet that's connected through a wormhole that goes, just straight to Singapore. It's like a fiber line that goes through Stargate, I'm guessing.
There you go. Right through a Stargate.
And that's how Google Fiber actually makes everything work. They use Stargates.
That would be awesome. Alright, well, let's go ahead and get this thing going. Let me pretend I remember how to do all this. And let's go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Game Case, a show for, well, anyone that plays World of Warcraft. The show rife with ramblings, tips, tricks, and goings-on in WoW. Here's your host, Chris Case.
Well, hello, hi, howdy, and welcome to episode 25 of the Game Case. I'm Chris, also known as Cuddles, a brewmaster monk on Airy Peak in the Convert to Raid Guild. This week even, we'll run down the last week in WoW, ignore the fact that there's basically been zero big WoW news, and get down to the details of the world of podcasts, because folks, I have an amazing guest. You can see him on the screen. Unless you're listening on the download, then the whole screen thing doesn't matter. You can't see him with your ears. But
right now you're probably seeing, World of Warcraft or your Twitter feed on the screen. I'm just not there if you're listening.
Well, if you don't know that voice, then you probably don't listen to Blizzard podcasts at all, because this gentleman is a true legend in the Warcraft community, someone that I really look up to. I am honored to have him on the show. I'd like to welcome Ro. Ro, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Culls. Thanks for having me on. It is a pleasure to be on this podcast, and man, you have come a long way from your very first couple of episodes. I mean, you got this whole fancy setup here with a layout and everything. You got Illidan behind us, always watching. It's awesome. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, thank you very much, and I again apologize for you having listened to those first couple episodes. It's all of us.
It's okay. I apologize to anyone who listens to the first couple episodes of my podcast.
Well, the difference is you started your podcast how long ago now?
It's been a little over 3 years now. I started in August of 2012. And
wow.
It's kind of crazy to think that's been 3 years going into the fourth year. It's nuts. It feels like I've only done this for like a year and a half or two time, but it doesn't help that I've hit 40 years old recently, so now of course time is going by at triple speed, and before you know it, World of Warcraft 2 will be in patch 3.5.
Oh jeez, I'm sure time won't fly quite that quick. But before we get into Warcraft 2 action, what have you been up to this week in WoW?
Oh, this week in WoW, I will be honest, I'm not playing a lot of World of Warcraft lately, but I am logging in pretty much every day. My general routine is I do a little bit of logging in to make some gold here and there and recover the 180,000 gold I spent several weeks ago to buy a Fell Drake, which is this it's a black drake mount, but it has this kind of greenish tint in the eyes and the wings, and it has a Burning Legion symbol on top. You can only originally get it through the collectible card games, so anyone who redeems one of those cards, they can actually put the mount up on the auction house. So I threw 180k gold into that, and now I'm recouping what I spent on that so I can get back to gold cap. And what I do every day is I log in. I only play one character mostly, check my garrison missions, my shipyard missions, I'll go to a few places where you can kill rares that may or may not drop pets. And if I have more the time than that, I may check the to non-rares to try to get Mind of the Legion. So sometimes I have great days. Sometimes I only make 1 or 2K a day. Sometimes I make like 10 or 12K a day, and that's just kind of my general routine lately. I raid 2 nights a week with Fur. It's a group that's part of AIE on Earthen Ring Horde side, and that's pretty much my general routine for WoW lately. I've been playing a lot of Diablo and Hearthstone when it comes to Blizzard games. I would probably say most of my time gaming is either spent on those games than WoW right now, but it's all part of a cycle. I mean, WoW's in that lull phase, and look at the amount of news that we have this week, right? So eventually we'll be at that point where Legion hype will build, and I'll be like, okay, I need to make sure I'm ready for the Burning Legion invasion. So it'll all come in time. Soon, TM.
Exactly. Now, what you said, I gotta ask. You're playing Diablo. What class are you playing right now? Are you playing a seasonal character? Are you playing one of your regular tunes? What are you doing in Diablo?
My regular tune is a wizard, and I haven't been playing the wizard much because I've been playing my seasonal character. It's the first time that I've really fully committed to playing seasonal since they added the season journey and all this extra stuff in 2.3. I'm playing a witch doctor, and it's been really fun. I still don't have like a real perfected build yet, but I got a couple neat items, and I know the kind of build I want to go toward, and it's just fun going through that whole experience again and being able to, do Torment 1 content, then eventually Torment 2, Torment 3. Earlier today, I did a Greater Rift 19, which is like equivalent of Torment 4. And I've still got a lot of ways to go, considering Torment goes up to 10 now.
Oh, wow. No, I have to ask Diablo noob question. Torment, is this kind of like Prestige? Like you get to 70 and then start over? Or is it like you're adding more levels? Or I just started playing Diablo 3.
It's fine. The Prestige kind of system is more what we call Paragon levels. So after you hit level 70, which is like the max level for a character, you can still gain experience and gain what's called Paragon levels. Paragon levels give you small additional bonuses to your character, nowhere near the big jumps in power like in the first 70 levels, but you're still improving your character over time. Torment is a difficulty level, so you have in Diablo, I think you have easy or normal, hard, expert, master, torment, and then you have Torment 2, Torment 3, Torment 4, Torment 5, all the way up to Torment 10. And like in a Torment 10 game, one single demon has like 32,000 times the hit points of the same demon on normal. Oh, wow. It's something really ridiculous numbers-wise. I think it's even more than that. But it's basically 14 levels of difficulty, and right now I'm doing about Torment 4 content on my Witch Doctor, and eventually I'll get up to Torment 10. So that's kind of what that's all about. It's just how tough the monsters are, and of course the more difficult content you play, the easier, or not the easier, but the better the chances there are for loot drops to occur and such, and it's all about getting that loot in Diablo. That's what drives everyone.
Oh, definitely. It seems to be all about that loot in a lot of Blizzard games.
Yeah, pretty much, except Hearthstone. I mean, Hearthstone, people kind of say it's, if you really want to do well, it's kind of pay to win. I wouldn't necessarily say so. I mean, I have a lot of the key legendaries that you see in tournament play, but I don't have all of them. And this past month in Hearthstone, I've been playing about ranked play a day, and I'm currently at rank 12, trying to get to rank 10 by the end of the month, because rank 10's a break point for some of the end of month rewards. So trying to hope I can get to rank 10, if not better.
Well, good luck with that, sir.
Thank you. How about you, though? I'm sure you've spent a lot more time in WoW than I have. What have you been doing?
I have spent a little bit of time in WoW. I got to join Bacon and Kegs, my weekend morning raid team, for the first time in about 3 weeks, thanks to vacation. So I hadn't raided with the team. I didn't really know where we were. Turns out we started right on progression with Tyrant on Saturday morning, and by the
now,
end
is this
of
normal Tyrant?
this is normal. We are generally a heroic team. We went through a little bit of a attendance boss slash growth changes when Hellfire came out. So we dropped down to normals, get some gear, and we're still kind of working our way through. But this week we got Tyrant, Zolharak, and Manaroth down. All of them. Manny was actually a 2-shot. I couldn't believe it. Seemed super, super easy. And then moved straight into heroics, got down the first 3 bosses, one-shotted them all. It was an amazing weekend for us. We went from, I think it was 10 of 13 normal to, or maybe we were 9 or 10, we're 11, we're 12 of 13. Jeez, math.
You just got the big guy left on normal.
Yep, we just got Archie left, and we're going to go roll some heroics, try to pick up some gear, make it a little bit easier when we do tackle Archimon. Honestly, I think we could take him right now, but I don't know. This is coming from somebody that hasn't even put him down in LFR, so I need to go out and actually see the big guy before I guess I get too cocky. Rubber Chickens, my Tuesday raid team, a long-time CTR raid team, helmed by Swayze. Swayze, we miss you, bro. He's been getting hit by Earl, the real-life boss here lately. So, Theory, once again, I know I shouted you out last week, Theory, but, man, thanks again for stepping up, raid leading the team, tanking with me, and doing just an incredible job. We were able to clear all the way up to Tyrant. We raid 1 night a week, again, in normal. We take 1 week and do clear. We take the next week and do progression. Definitely slows us down a little bit, but man, there wasn't anything slowing us down this week. I thought we were going to kill Archimon by the end of the night. It was going that well. We just simply ran out of time. Now, outside of the raiding world, of course, you know, there's a little event that a Pandaren might be excited about going on right now, and that's Brewfest.
Right.
Now, I'm new to the game, as many of the folks that have followed the game case.
That's right. This is going to be your first Brewfest.
Very first one, and
man.
There's definitely a title I need for my Pandaren Brewmaster, and that's the Brewmaster title.
Yep.
So I've been working on that, logging in, even on the 1 or 2 nights that I haven't played. I've been logging in, doing the Brewfest dailies. I'm getting there. I'm getting close. I think I have 3 of the 6 achievements, and I just need to buy something for one of the others. It's going to happen. Thankfully, Brewfest is nice and long. Gives me a good opportunity to get everything from it.
Yeah, next Wintervale, I think it's the longest event in game.
Really? I was not aware. I was really surprised and happy, because normally the week-long events happen, and then something happens in life. And inevitably, all that has to happen for something to go wrong is for WoW to have an event where I want a pet that only happens once a year. So,
and there's quite a few pets to get in Brewfest if this is your first time doing.
Yeah, it's been kind of daunting. I've looked at the guides. I've been on Wowhead. I've talked to some other folks in game, and I have decided that I want to get the Brewmaster title, and outside of that, anything I get is a bonus. Obviously, along the way, I'm going to pick up enough tokens. I'll pick up a pet, maybe a mount. I think is there a mount to buy? Or are they both off Corrin?
There is not a mount to buy, but if you are doing the daily Corrin Dire Brew event, there is a chance to get one of 2 mounts from the Treasure Keg. When you do that once a day, you could either get the Brewfest Kodo or the Brewfest Ram.
Okay. And I'm definitely doing that guy. I mean, he takes, 45 seconds?
If that. I was in a group recently that, killed him in 20 or so. I had popped in, and that was a few seconds late going into the instance, and they were already fighting him as I'm running in. It's like, oh, okay. Next thing I know, 5 seconds later, he's down. So, I mean, that must have been a 20-second fight.
Oh, jeez. And that's awesome. That's a fun holiday boss, because especially if you're not going to if you're not going to drop the loot that you want, hey, why spend 5 minutes on it? Easy to jump in and jump out. I like that.
Yeah, it's a loot pinata, really. It all depends on, like, what point in the expansion cycle the events happen. Like, the events that happen around the launch of an expansion, those bosses tend to be harder just because people aren't really well geared. Right now, we've had Tanan Jungle out for a while. A lot of people have been raiding in Hellfire, so a lot of people doing this event boss just trying to get them out are going to be really well geared, and those fights just become trivial. Now, whenever Legion comes out, let's say it comes out in like March or April, then that means that if say Noble Garden comes out right after Legion launches, there's no Noble Garden boss. I just realized, no, there's no Noble Garden boss to kill, so yeah, that boss is going to be in a cakewalk. What would be the first? I guess the Midsummer Festival would probably be the first event with a boss. So yeah, that Frost Lord might be a little tough, but people will already be in the first tier, assuming Legion comes out that early. But I'm going way off on a tangent.
I love it, though, because that's what, if there's nothing else that we love to do as podcasters, is it not speculate on when the next Blizzard thing is going to be done by Blizzard?
Speculation. So, in addition to Realm Maintenance, I also do this podcast with Alternative Chat called Extended Maintenance. And part of the theme for our recent episode was we're going to tone back the speculation some. Because the whole speculation thing, I mean, still got several months to go. I kind of want to wait till beta client is out before I do any more speculating. Or at least wait till BlizzCon before I do any more speculating, so that I'm just gonna keep things pretty chill and just wait for BlizzCon and occupy myself with other stuff and say every day I'll look at my calendar and just sigh and be like, it's not BlizzCon yet.
But it almost is. We are so very, very close.
We are.
And one of the things that did go on this week is they talked a little bit, released a couple photos about some of the digital goodies that we'll be getting as either BlizzCon attendees or for those lucky virtual folks that picked up a goodie bag for themselves. So the first thing that came out this week, well, it's this guy. We already knew about him. And if you can't see the smile because you're listening to this on the download, hopefully you can hear it in my voice.
This is why you get the virtual ticket. It's not to watch BlizzCon. It's just to get this right here.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm gonna make this bigger for the stream because look at him.
Screen it. He deserves it. Mercadin deserves all the attention in the world. It's probably one of their best Murlocs that they've done. I think I like the Deathwing Murloc that they did, Deathy, but Mercadin, it's just, oh man. And I think his abilities are already known. I think that they were already data mined, like he's technically in the current patch, but I haven't checked to see what his abilities are. I'll have to take a look at that.
That's what I definitely have not looked into him. I wanna keep a little bit of my amazement about him back. But yeah, I will. I am actually, hopefully tonight, I will be getting a drawing from one of my raid team members on Rubber Chickens of Murky that I will then be taking to my local tattoo artist. And if you're wondering who Cuddles is at BlizzCon, he'll be the guy in a kilt with the Murky tattoo.
Oh my goodness. You are getting a Murky tattoo.
Oh, I'm dedicated. He was my very first level 10 hero. He's got my most played time.
Where is this tattoo going to be located? Like on his shoulder or?
Well, we may have to go into a private secluded area for people to see it. No, it's actually going to be right now on my right calf. I have a classic Nintendo controller, and the plan is to do that calf in entirely like classic gaming things, because gamer, and I'm gonna start a Blizzard leg now. So first edition is going to be Murky. Wow. I'm a awesome. Pretty big Murky fan. And speaking of HOTS, there was also that's Hearthstone. There we go.
Yeah.
Speaking of HOTS, they released this wonderful mount whose name I didn't actually have.
It is the Nexus Battle Beast, I think.
That works better than what I was going to say. Little armored dude with some armor on. He glows a bit. Looks a little Tron-y. I like it. I like it, at least in this color. More HOTS mounts is always a good thing. Yeah, it's a reskin
of the Battle Beasts that are already in the game, but just kind of Nexusized.
That's why he looks familiar. All right. So you'll get that guy. We'll also have a brand new Hearthstone card back, which this looks awesome. New card backs are always fun. I know you're a big Hearthstone fan. What do you think? You like it?
Oh yeah. I'm happy to be getting this one. It's really weird. Part of me to collect all the card backs there are, but that would mean spending money on those alternate heroes that have the alternate card backs with them. So I'm going to get almost all the card backs. One thing that's great about this whole digital goods package is they are, if you are a kind of person who plays multiple Blizzard games, all of the extras they're throwing in just makes it so worth it if you're going to get like the virtual ticket or whatever. And even if you play like just one game, it's still not bad.
Oh, definitely. If I was just a WoW player, I would be head over heels for Mercadin. If I was just a Hearthstone player, I mean, come on, it's a new card back. Like everybody loves card backs. One of the ones that I also really liked is the new Diablo swag. They definitely got some cool stuff here. It looks like we got a BlizzCon banner. We got a nice little murky frame. And explain to me what this guy is in the middle. Obviously, it's a Murloc, but I don't know. Is this a skin for your character? Like, I haven't been playing Diablo long enough to understand what sort of cool stuff I can do.
There are actually companion pets in Diablo. I mean, they can't be used as like battle pets or anything like that. But there are a handful of companion pets you can have with you while you're adventuring, and this will be one of them.
Now that is absolutely awesome. Now you get a companion pet with what? Your witch doctors, or with any character.
Well, with any character, like if you ordered the special, like if you got the digital deluxe edition of Reaper of Souls, that has a special companion pet with it. I think doing the digital deluxe or collector's edition of Warlords of Draenor had one as well. I know there's one for Legacy of the Void, where if you get the collector's edition or digital deluxe, you'll also get access to like a probe. Protoss probe that can be your companion pet in Diablo. It's just a little cosmetic thing.
Okay. All right. And then we also have, for the StarCraft fans out there, these things. I don't play StarCraft. I don't know what they are. Ro, any clue?
So the thing on the right is a picture of the Spear of Adun, which is going to be like the main Protoss shit that's central to the story and Legacy of the Void. And the icon on the left, that kind of pyramidish like thing, I believe is a vessel from the Xel'Naga, which are like the main antagonists in the story.
Okay, nice. So fun stuff for our StarCraft fans as well. I know I actually just got in, which along with everyone else, I believe that was opted in for the beta. I just got my Legacy of the Void beta access, and I am looking forward to diving into that and getting one more Blizzard game under my belt. So outside of the digital goodies that dropped this week, there was some PvP things going on with the WoW EU Championships. If you're looking for PvP news, though, you've definitely come to the wrong spot. I don't PvP. It scares me. Maybe one day.
Why does it scare you?
I'm bad at it. So the only time that I've done PvP is during Children's Week and trying to do those achievements. And all I remember is running out on the bridge in that, I don't even know the name of the map. But there's one with the bridge out in the middle, and you can fall.
Alterac Valley.
Possibly.
The one with like 40 people in it. It's snowy and everything.
No. This is the one where there's like, okay, there's capture the flag type points, and one of them's right in the middle of a bridge.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know,
probably Arathi Basin.
There you go. I get stunned and knocked off that bridge. That's the entirety of my PvP experience. And as a monk, I don't have like I just found that I have a little racial stun, and I didn't even know it, because that's how well I PvP. I may try it one day. I'm not knocking it. Please don't think, like, anybody that enjoys PvP, good for you. Simply not my game experience at the moment, but I am open to it. And for those that are open to it, or do a little bit of PvP, since I do have the undisputed king of WoW podcasts in the house, do you know of any? He's coming on later, but I thought I'd ask you.
Well, since
do you know of any PvP podcasts?
So there's a couple of shows that are done at bisnation.net. Those are mainly PvP podcasts, though, that focus on experience level capped play, like level 19, level 29, rated battlegrounds and such like that. That said, if you play arena PvP, if you're into arena PvP play, just earlier today, breaking news on the podcast scene, there's this podcast that's going to be called Q Popped, and you can follow them on Twitter at Q Popped, which is QUEUE Popped. And they're going to be a podcast that focuses on the arena side of World of Warcraft. I think they're recording their first episode next Monday at 5:30. Like I said, if you follow at QPopped on Twitter, that'll be the best thing to do, so you can be connected with where their Twitch channel is and all that information. And I'll be bringing these guys up on my next podcast for sure. So yeah, it was just kind of serendipity that this new PvP shit pops up, and you're wondering, hey, Ro, is there a PvP podcast around anywhere? There hasn't been a long time, but this one may fill that spot.
Right on. Well, I'll be definitely looking to check that out, and thanks for the info. You're always so plugged into the podcast community, sir. I knew that you would have an answer for that.
If this had been 24 hours ago, I would not have had much of an answer for you if I lucked out.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, let's dig right into the heart of the matter, and that's going to be sure. World of Podcasts. So, Ro, why don't you give us a little bit of backstory on World of Podcasts? Because if I'm not mistaken, you've been involved from the very beginning, correct?
You're a little mistaken.
Okay,
so,
that happens a lot.
It's all right. So World of Podcasts started about 2 years ago, and what it was back then is a couple people from the Sundering, Seraphis and Zia, and then two podcasters from what was called Epic Podcast, which was Lignar and Medicakes. They now do a podcast called Saturday Morning WoW. Was the four of them, and also Xantar from a podcast no longer around called Holy Shat Podcast, Shat after Shatrath City. I know.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So the five of them got World of Podcast together, and basically the goal of it was to have this kind of social podcast gathering where like people from all the different podcasts from primarily back then World of Warcraft, although people from other podcasts were welcome too, basically gathered to have some panels, talk about different things, and basically just have a little bit of a party get together and a fun time. I was involved in terms of helping them promote what the event was, and a couple years ago it was like really grassroots, and it was really kind of this smallish type thing, and it had such an amazing turnout now even for what it was 2 years ago, that the following year they decided, okay, let's do that in the Hilton. So of course doing it in the Hilton means it was going to be a more expensive venture. They sought sponsors out. They did a Kickstarter to get any funding, and all of that went very well. Was a success. You had sites like Icy Veins and Ask Mr. Robot sponsoring. You had Jinx, a very well-known apparel company. They threw in a whole lot of swag to the event, and this thing was going to be bigger and better, improving on everything that they did in the first year. And I was actually involved in it last year as part of the planning committee. And it exceeded all our expectations. We added things like a Hearthstone fireside and a photo booth and a couple other rooms for people to get together, more bartenders, because you can never have enough bartenders at these things, right?
Not with this crowd.
Oh my gosh, if you go to the Hilton and you just go into the lobby, and by the way, Chris, this is going to be your first BlizzCon, right?
This is my very first BlizzCon.
You are going to find that you are spending a lot of time in the lobby in the Hilton. If you are not at Well Played or Calm Before the Storm or one of the other big gatherings, you're going to spend a lot of time in the lobby in the Hilton, because a lot of Blizzard people hang out there, just a whole lot of people hang out there, and the bartender lines are long. So for the party, last year we had like, I think 2 or 3 bartenders, and it was just awesome, and the turnout just blew our minds. We literally had a couple of thousand people show up to this thing, and it just exceeded our expectations again, and we're just blown by all the support from sponsors, community, and just people showing up, by whole tons of swag. And it was just a great time was had by all, and of course, why stop there? Do it again. So this year, that kind of leads to the here and now, and it's bigger. It's probably going to be better, but it's also different, kind of.
Okay. So, should we expect all of the World of Podcast goodness? Because this year it's a little bit different. You're part of a larger event, correct?
Right. So here's the thing. Last year, it was called World of Podcasts, like the whole shebang, you know, all the extra rooms, the Hearthstone stuff, all the extra happenings, and all together, it was called World of Podcasts. There was a decision made by many of the people behind the planning of this, that they wanted to rebrand the event as a whole. And kind of the philosophy behind that was, if the event's called World of Podcasts, then people who don't listen to podcasts may not necessarily have an interest in checking out the event, even though the event had all this stuff that would be appealing and interesting to people, not just who listen to podcasts, but people who just love Blizzard, love the community surrounding Blizzard and Blizzard games. So they wanted to rebrand the event as a whole, but still retain the podcast aspect of it and the show aspect that World of Podcasts was. So they decided to do a renaming of the entire event from World of Podcasts to Con Before the Storm, which is kind of a catchy title because it's basically a mini con before BlizzCon. So it's the con before the storm of stuff. And of course, you kind of also have this Heroes of the Storm vibe to it and everything. Heroes of the Storm covers all Blizzard stuff. So the party overall is called Con Before the Storm. That's going to still retain a lot of the things. If you were at World of Podcasts last year, pretty much everything that you saw at World of Podcasts is going to be in Con Before the Storm. That said, World of Podcasts itself is still a part of Con Before the Storm, and that's the part that's going to be maybe live streamed, have podcasters involved in all of that, but the format of it's going to be a little different. So the first couple of years for World of Podcasts, for like the presentation, the show part of it, we did these panels where we would take a mixture of podcasters from different shows, mix them together for several different panels, and just do one panel after another. The second year, it was more of the same thing, had some open Q&A panels as well. And this year, what we're doing with the World of Podcasts is we're changing away from the panel focus and making it a bit more about the a selection of the podcasts themselves, kind of giving these different podcasts that just make up one slice of the whole podcast community, give them some time to do their thing, do what they do best, whether it is a famous segment from their show, or if they want to take that 10 minutes to talk about something about BlizzCon in particular, or one of the games and such like that, go for it. We're giving the podcasts a lot more freedom to do what they want to do, and we're going to be covering, I want to say, roughly 10 or 12 podcasts are going to be represented within that whole period of World of Podcasts. So in a way, it's going to be a little bit like podcast speed dating, though, because most of these segments are going to be like 10 to 12 minutes long. Sandwiched in the middle of this 5 hours of a World of Podcasts from 8 to 9 p.m. Pacific time. I'm really excited about this because this is one of the big things that I was behind trying to get it, organized, set up, and get it going. I felt it was really important that if you have a show called World of Podcasts, that one of the biggest, popular, well-known WoW Blizzard podcasts be represented there. And so I kind of raid from time to time with Scott Johnson. I don't know if you know who that guy is. He's part of.
Does he have like a little podcast or something? I heard it. Like, is he just getting a start? It sounds like some newbie.
I mean, he's kind of a noob. I mean, he stands in fire a lot, and so Scott Johnson from The Instance is part of the raid team, and in the conversation I had, it was either in raid talk or maybe I emailed him or whatnot. I'd asked him, hey, well, one of the things was that last year when he was at World of Podcasts last year and he saw what we did, and he was amazed by just how big an event what the event was, and he thought it was really impressive, and he kind of knows what's involved in that kind of production because he does all that stuff with Nerdtacular.
Yep.
So he was really impressed by what we did, and I think that just combined with a whole bunch of other factors led to us being able to have Scott and the Instance crew record an episode of The Instance from the World of Podcasts room, and that's going to be at 8 o'clock. It's going to be basically an hour long. If he runs late, we'll let him run late. It's not, we're going to...
Hey, Scott, we're playing the music.
It's not like 9 p.m. Oh, okay, that's it. Your time's done. No specific plans for what's going to happen on that episode. Will there be special guests? Won't there be special guests? Who knows? We're just going to kind of, let them do what they do, play it by ear. It'll be great. We'll have fun. And then following that, we have the second half of World of Podcasts, more other podcasts being showcased and featuring themselves. And we're going to have giveaways tossed in, and I'm just really excited about it. It's going to be a very, very big change from the format of the past 2 years, but I think it's still going to be something that people are going to be entertained by and want to see. And as far as the panels go that we did the last couple years, we're still doing panels at World of Podcasts. They're just going to be part of Con Before the Storm in a couple of other rooms, which we're calling the Forum. So the forum's going to have some of that panel format content. So if you are attending BlizzCon and you go to Con Before the Storm, you can check out what's happening there. And if you're worried about, well, I want to go check out the panels at the forum, I'm afraid I'm going to miss World of Podcasts, you don't have to worry about that because Todd over at Alpha Geek Radio, he does a lot of recording for a lot of the Frog Pants shows, The Instance, and several other podcasts. He's going to be recording World of Podcasts for us, and he will have it up on demand in HD video after the fact. So if you're going there in person and you're having to choose between one or the other, don't worry about necessarily missing World of Podcasts. Feel free to check out all the other stuff that Con Before the Storm has to offer because we will still have that video available for you. We're planning to stream the event too. Right now, we don't know if the stream is going to be high definition video or not because, like it or not, internet in a convention hotel costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we raised a ton of money for this event, but even still with all of that, we're talking 4-digit numbers to have a hard line for high definition video.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you a tough choice. It's like, okay, do we want to have the live stream in HD video, or do we want to use that several $100s toward, getting an additional bartender or throwing in some extra giveaways? It's just one of the hard decisions you make when you're planning this kind of event is you have this money, but you want to use it in a way that feels like it's going to have the biggest and best impact overall. So live stream will happen, whether it's in HD or not. For the live stream, don't know yet, but regardless of what happens live, it will be in video in HD in all its glory shortly after BlizzCon.
Right on. That's super. That was something that I had absolutely no idea about. That's gonna be really neat to see all those forums and panels and everything going on.
Come to think of it, there's this guy. I'm actually going to be involved in the forum. I'm going to be doing a panel in the forum revolving around podcasting, content creation, and I'm doing it with two. Yep, I'm doing it.
I would want to watch something like that.
Yeah,
that sounds incredible. Who's doing it with you?
It is. It's going to be awesome. So there's 2 other podcasters involved in that panel. There's Dustin from the Horde for Life podcast, good guy, and what's that other guy's name? Oh, his name's Chris.
Oh,
yep,
it's a good name.
His name's Chris. He has a show called The Game Case, and he's going to be part of that podcasting panel too. So.
That's us. We're doing a panel together. Oh my gosh, that's nuts. No,
it's
really,
gonna be awesome. I'm looking forward to that. It's gonna be fun, and I think it's really interesting too because you're gonna have kind of this between the 3 of us. We have really interesting different backgrounds because you have you who you've just been into your show for a little less than a year now. It'll be really close to a year playing WoW by the time we do the panel.
Yep.
Then you have me, who's been podcasting for like 3 years, and you have Dustin, who's been podcasting since the beginning of time. Longer than me, I don't know how long. But I think we all have different perspectives on podcasting, and if you have, I'm sure a portion of it's going to be open Q&A, where if you have any questions about podcasting, we'll be happy to answer them to the best of our ability, and we'll just kind of talk shop a bit and have a fun time doing it.
It's definitely going to be a really cool experience. It's funny. I had put in when they put out the call for does anybody want to be involved in World of Podcast, my hand immediately shot up and I immediately said there's no way they're going to let me on that thing. There's no like I've been doing this for like 5 minutes. Who no. And then I got the email about, doing some stuff. Yeah. And I was like, yes, 1,000 times yes. And then I deleted that and actually sent an email that was like, oh, why, yes, I would be very happy.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to participating in this event.
Excuse me while I go change my underwear, for it seems that someone has peed in my pants. And then after that...
I soiled myself.
Well, then after that, I got the email and saw who I was going to be on the panel with. And seeing it was going to be you and seeing it was going to be Dustin. Like that.
You took one look at that email and you said, oh my gosh, it's Dustin from Horde for Life. Yeah! And then you saw my name and you're like, oh.
Realm Manat is that in Elvish? Is that Dwarfish? I've never heard of this show.
Isn't that a Greek letter?
What is this? What is this gear on it? Is this like a car talk podcast? What's going on? No, of course I was super excited. It's gonna be a whole lot of fun, and hopefully very informative too. I'm very much looking forward to all this stuff, getting together with you guys and putting together a really great package for that.
Yeah, and I would definitely say to listeners of your show, if there's any questions that, like, you guys have about podcasting, I would say, feel free to email this show because we're still Chris, Dustin, and I, we are very, very much in the early planning phases of this, and we're still kind of constructing exactly what we're going to talk about. So if you have any input you want to give on like what you'd like to hear us talk about, feel free.
Yep.
Yeah, I will do. I don't know exactly to what extent the forums are going to be recorded, but I think at the very least I'm going to attempt to record our panel on my iPhone, if nothing else, so that can be posted later.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have my GoPro with me. I don't know what I'll do with it for that one, but I'll probably have it somewhere recording.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's always Periscope. That records, doesn't it?
It's true.
We can get some hearts.
It records, but you have, like, I think up to a week to grab it off, so you just gotta make sure to pick it up after the fact.
Rose, like, God, Cuddles isn't going to sit there Periscoping this whole damn thing, is he? Oh, no. I'm going to be... Hey, we're on a panel, guys. Look at me. I'm fancy. Rose going to be sitting there like, amateur. Who let this guy in the building? It's going to be fun, though. It's definitely going to be a good time. I'm honored to be on the panel with the two of you guys. World of Podcasts, we talked a whole lot about it. We talked about some of the things that are going on, some of the places and the things that people can see, some of the ways that they can see it afterwards. Now here's a question. When is World of Podcasts, and where is it? You mentioned it's at the Hilton. Is it in the lobby? Do they have it like in the men's bathroom in the back? Where are you guys holding this thing?
You gotta walk up to this bouncer, give a password. He takes you through a secret elevator. You go like 10 levels below. No. So World of Podcasts, Calm Before the Storm as a whole, happens the night before BlizzCon, which I believe, if I remember correctly, is November 4th? No, November 5th. My bad. Yeah. November 5th on Thursday night at the Anaheim Hilton. We are on what is technically called the 4th floor, I think, but if you're attending BlizzCon, if you're attending the whole thing at the Hilton, there will be signs pointing your way. I think at the same time that we're doing our party, Wowhead's going to be doing a party as well, which is like 1 or 2 floors above us. So there's going to be a whole lot going on in Hilton, but there will be signs that will direct you to Con Before the Storm. So yeah, just Thursday night. It's going to be running, I think, from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. roughly. And there's going to be stuff happening throughout the whole entire night. Like I said, it's more than just World of Podcasts. There's a lot of great stuff happening as well. I can't really speak on every single aspect because I'm not involved in the planning, but I can tell you a lot of things that happened last year are being brought back. There will be a photo booth. There will be this art gallery room, which, Chris, when you see it yourself in person, you're going to be really impressed by it. Ask Mr. Robot puts this together, and they get in touch with all these different artists, and we're talking artists that people who like follow on Twitter, some they'll recognize, but a lot they may not recognize. And all these tons of artists, you know, with some pieces of their work, there'll be prints all over the walls. And the awesome thing about this is at the end of the night, they give all of those pieces of artwork away.
Like, give it away.
So they literally give it away. It's one of the coolest things that we give away at this event is you pretty much, anyone who wanted a piece of artwork walked out of that event with a piece of artwork. And there's just so many awesome pieces of stuff there. And that's just a fraction of like the giveaways and swag. Jinx is going to be involved again this year. They're going to have a table there. So I'm sure you can check out some of the newest stuff that Jinx has over there. You may end up having getting a shirt or a sweatshirt to take home or something. But yeah, they really loved being a part of World of Podcasts last year. So I imagine Calm Before the Storm, they're going to put even more into it. And we couldn't be happier. And yeah, it's just an amazing thing. One of the director behind the planning for Calm Before the Storm, Heather Zia from the Sundering, she has put so much time and effort into organizing things and coordinating with people and putting things together. I know that she can't wait to see it all happen. The unfortunate thing, well, fortunate and unfortunate, is in the midst of all this planning, she ended up finding out she was pregnant. So she's not going to be able to go to BlizzCon herself, which is sad, but she has a very good reason.
Yeah, I think that counts. I think growing another human counts as a decent reason to not come to BlizzCon.
Right.
Right on. Well, let me ask you this. I didn't have this in the notes, but this is something that just popped into my head. You've obviously been to World of Podcasts before. You're obviously familiar with the way it's run. Can you give any practical advice for folks that are coming to World of Podcasts? Is this, you said it starts at 6. Is this something that I need to show up at 4 o'clock and queue up for? Is this something, I mean, how's kind of the flow of it? Like, because I know BlizzCon is all about long lines.
So last year, it was our first time doing it in the Hilton, and we had no idea what to expect in terms of line and turnout. As it was, we had a very long line, and it was an amazing turnout, and we were a little unprepared as far as like how to handle that long of a line. This year, that's going to be a lot more streamlined. The line's going to be taken care of faster, more efficiently. It should not be that big a deal. You might want to show up maybe half an hour before if you're attending in person. That's why I would say there's no need to camp that line, because honestly, we want to get the line through relatively quickly. It's not going to be as slow and crawling as it was in the past, so it won't take up too much of your time. And
Okay.
one thing I will definitely give advice on is just in general, if you're attending BlizzCon, of course, Thursday is a day for like registration to pick up your badge and whatnot. The badge registration was really quick last year. I mean, they had a long line that they opened up the lines in the morning, and still they had this line that was like literally a mile long of humanity, but they got through all of that whole big line. They got through that in about 20-30 minutes, which was amazing. Wow. So then for the rest of the day, registration was pretty quick. So if you're worried about, oh, well, I need time to get my badges and stuff, like let's say you're arriving in the area in the late afternoon, early evening, go ahead and get your badge first. I doubt it's going to make you that late or hold you up from what we're doing over at Calm Before the Storm and World of Podcasts, because the registration process should be really painless.
Right on. Right on. And one last question for me about World of Podcasts. Now you've mentioned how awesome this is, and you've mentioned giving away things, and gosh darn it, Cuddles and Roe are going to be there, so everybody's going to want to go. There's also that guy from The Instance, if you're at all interested in him.
Well,
but I mean,
and the thing is,
really,
like I said, one reason why they changed it from the whole event from World of Podcasts to Calm Before the Storm is to make it appealing to not just podcasters. I mean, you're going to see personalities from all over the World of Warcraft community and the Blizzard community as well. I know that there's going to be some high-end raiders attending. So, like, if people from, say, Method, Limit, those kind of people are going to be around Con Before the Storm, World of Podcasts, and all that stuff, we're going to have a room where these personalities can, like, you know, hang out, sign stuff, and whatnot. So that's going to be happening.
nice.
And you never know who exactly is going to show up, because all this stuff is happening in the Hilton at the same time, right? You got Calm Before the Storm, you got the Wowhead thing going on, you got this Blizzard charity dinner that also happens at the on the same night, and you have a few other get-togethers that are happening really close. So you get a lot of cross-pollination from these events. You have people going from one to another. So I'm not making any promises, but I would not be surprised at all if you saw Blizzard community managers, if you saw possible developers for any of the Blizzard franchises wander around, check out Calm Before the Storm. Who knows who you're going to run into? Just being in the lobby of the Hilton alone is an experience. My very first year at BlizzCon, I arrived on Thursday and went straight into doing that first World of Podcasts thing. And after World of Podcasts was over, it was like, I want to say 10:30. And I went to the Hilton, and I walked into the lobby of the Hilton, true story, and like right smack dead center in the lobby of the Hilton, just kind of casually talking to a couple people, was Mike Morheim.
Wow.
And I was just blown by the fact that that the Blizzard team, that, you know, from top to bottom, just made themselves so accessible to players in the Hilton there. It was mind blowing. And, you know, I didn't take up too much of his time at all. You know, I just briefly, you know, said hi and stuff. I was listening to him talk about the early days of StarCraft 1 to a couple people, and I was just kind of, yeah. I had this stupid smile on my face, I'm sure, but a lot of great moments to be had at BlizzCon. I mean, honestly, as big as BlizzCon is, the experience of BlizzCon, I think the best experiences that come from that whole weekend usually come from areas outside of the convention hall themselves. Yep. Whether it's the pre-show parties, or like, say it's another party during the weekend, like the Well Played party, which is also going to be a great thing. While there are these parties going on, it's by no means a competition. I encourage people to check out all the stuff that's going on that weekend, because it's all going to be awesome. It's all going to be great. And just community, just the atmosphere, the community, the friendliness, it's nerd nirvana. It's an amazing thing. Nerdvana. There you go.
Nerdvana. I like it.
Nerdvana.
No, the chat room wants to know, did you get a picture with Mr. Morheim?
I think I did get a selfie taken with him.
Hold on. Did he know that you took the selfie?
Yes.
Okay. Or was it like one of these like
I have a picture. I have pictures of myself taken with Morheim, Metzen, Greg Street, aka Ghostcrawler, a couple other developers and stuff, couple community managers. When the first picture I took last year when I arrived at the convention center was with Rigarius, community manager Rigarius, awesome guy. Oh, wow. And then like right after him, Krithto.
Oh, nice.
And Krithto was wearing this like shirt with a big old pug on it, so you knew it was him.
Oh, that's great. Well, last quick question for World of Podcasts. Now, you've talked about all this fun stuff that's going on. This sounds like a blast. I want to be there. How much is it going to cost me to get into this party? How much is a ticket to all this epic awesomeness, Mr. Rowe? Because I'm on a budget.
There's always a price, right? So this is the ugly, bitter truth part about World of Podcasts. So if you want to go to Con Before the Storm and World of Podcasts, it is going to cost you absolutely nothing.
What? All this fun for free?
Yeah, it's so like these parties and stuff like that. It's the main reason why all that fundraising was done through Kickstarter. It's the reason why the event's funded through sponsors and such like that. Because what we're trying to do, we're not trying to make money off of this thing. We're just trying to throw a hell of a party and a good time for people to come check out. So it's not about, for us, it's not about profit. It's just for putting on a hell of a show, a hell of an event, and just sharing in the community and the fun and the atmosphere that is BlizzCon and everything around it. So World of Podcast, just show up, have fun, enjoy.
Right on. Well, I for one absolutely cannot wait for it. Super excited. This was one of the things that I absolutely could not miss. We do have a question from the chat room before we move on. Kaz, sure, from the Worgen's Howl podcast, which I remember first hearing about on your show, which that was awesome because you were like, so there's this WoW podcast that's been going on for like a year and I don't know about. And that's like a really weird thing for Ro.
The funny story about Worgen's Howl. So what I do usually when I check for podcasts is more often than not I'm checking Twitter feeds and I check iTunes a lot, even though I hate iTunes with a passion that I just cannot describe because iTunes is so difficult when it comes to finding new podcasts. But I still was doing a lot of my searching through iTunes. Worgen's Howl on the other hand, they weren't hip with iTunes. They weren't doing the whole iTunes thing. So for the better part of a year, I didn't even know that this podcast existed, and I was so embarrassed when I saw, hey, this podcast is reaching 40 episodes. I'm like, what? So I felt, okay, I have to interview these guys right away. Check out their show. I listened to their show. They do such an awesome, I mean, you want to talk about community, and shout out to Worgen's How, because they got one of the best community-focused World of Warcraft podcasts out there. When you're done listening to this episode, check them out. It's like worgenhow.blogspot.com. There's your promo. The check is in the mail, I hope. No. But yeah, check them out. Worgen's How is an awesome podcast. To answer your question, though, Kaz, I don't think there's any rule against it. In fact, one of the awesome things about Con Before the Storm is there's going to be this panel, part of the forum, where, and this was just announced a couple of days ago, they're going to have this one panel that's all about cosplay, right? And they got a couple of podcasters from the Dalaran Academy podcast, Seraphita and Quizzer Aura, who are both a couple cosplayers. And they also are going to have the BlizzCon cosplay contest winners from 2011 and last year, 2014. When I found out that we were getting those contest winners as part of the panel, my mind was freaking blown away. I couldn't believe that they were going to be a part of it. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. So as far as cosplay goes, man, if you want to cosplay a date early before BlizzCon, I say go for it. And you will definitely... I don't know how many people will necessarily be in cosplay the night before BlizzCon, but I'll tell you what, if you show up in cosplay at Con Before the Storm, World of Podcast, and all that stuff, you will probably definitely stand out, but that's going to be an awesome thing. Just expect a lot of people to want to have their picture taken with you.
And Kaz, I will tell you, I will be cosplaying as a slightly overweight, neck-bearded guy in a kilt. So... Well, I don't put a lot of effort into that.
Because otherwise you would blend in with the crowd.
I know, right? No,
Chief Vol'jin's going to cosplay as a human, I hear.
Oh, with tusks.
Yeah.
That should be... Maybe we'll finally be able to figure out who he really is.
Well, you know it's me, right? Everyone says that Chief Vol'jin's me. Like, while we've been talking all this time, I've been typing in the chat room.
I believe it. I believe that you actually have it macroed to have natural conversation, like some sort of crazy.
It's true. It's all automated, actually. It's all these algorithms and stuff.
Google Mind.
It's like artificial intelligence. Chief Vol'jin's actually really just an AI program that I created, so that's why it seems like it's me, because it's just AI.
Nice. Well, Ro, do we have any more questions from the chat room? I haven't seen anything else. Ro, you got anything else to say about World of Podcasts? I think we've covered this thing well.
I think we pretty much covered it. I'm really excited about it. It's my third BlizzCon overall. It's my second time, being a part of just such a big community event, as far as the funding, the manpower, the woman power behind it, just everything. It is, for me, one of the highlights of the whole experience of going to BlizzCon, because there's just so many people that you get to meet and stuff like that. When you're in the convention center itself, it's all about going to those Blizzard panels and going to the demo stations, right? And trying to get all the free swag that you can, and eating really expensive food. At World of Podcasts, Con Before the Storm, all these parties, Well Played, all these parties that happen the night before and during the weekend, it's about just meeting people and taking pictures and smiling and just enjoying the fact that we are thousands of nerds that have gathered upon one place to celebrate video games. And honestly, I couldn't think of a better time than what you experience at these parties. It's really literally eat, drink, and be merry, and I am all for it.
Oh, wow. I thought I was excited for BlizzCon before that. Bro, that was like poetic. They need to put you on the promo video. That was incredible, sir. No, I'm really pumped.
Honestly, you will have. I am not lying when I say that last year, as stressful as it was putting it all together, I had just as much fun at World of Podcast as I had within BlizzCon itself for entirely different reasons, but it's still an amazing experience.
Right on.
So yeah, check it out. And if you don't happen to get to go this year, check out the World of Podcasts live stream or check out the video on demand afterwards when it's all uploaded. It's still going to be a fun time, and just have fun.
Right on. Well, with that, Ro, where can people find you if they enjoy listening to you wax poetic about nerds gathering and eating, drinking, and being merry? Where can people find you on the internet? Are you on the internet? Like, do you have like a Twitter or maybe like do you have a podcast? Like, you should.
The internet's a thing, so I decided that maybe I should be involved in the internet. So I do a couple of podcasts. One of them's called Realm Maintenance. It's a podcast about podcasts. So if you're looking for podcasts for World of Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft, Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, Hearthstone, just go to realm-maintenance.com. That'll connect you with Realm Maintenance. You can follow the show on Twitter at Realm Podcast. Myself, I am on Twitter at RoWow. That's spelled RHOWOW. And I also do a solitary World of Warcraft podcast called Extended Maintenance with my cohort in crime, Alternative Chat. You can find that in iTunes, Stitcher, and also at extendedcast.net.
Nice. I have to say, I'm a huge fan of both of your shows. Extended Maintenance is... I absolutely love. So, like, long car trips, I love putting you guys on and just listening to you and, like, all just banter back and forth.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing, guys. Realm Maintenance is a relatively short podcast. By short, I mean, like, it's roughly clocks in at 40 to 45 minutes. I try to make it a point to keep most of those shows short, except for, like, special occasions. Extended Maintenance is Extended Maintenance. It is a long podcast. So, just be warned. We are there for at least an hour and a half, if not longer. I think this recent episode, since we've been gone for a few weeks, clocked in at, like, 2 hours, 20 minutes. So, it's a big show.
And I do have to say, for those that are maybe like, well, I don't know if I want to listen to a 2.5 hour go check it out. Every single minute of it is totally worth it. It's a lot of fun. You couldn't find two more knowledgeable and fun to listen to people in the community. 10 to 10 recommend that podcast.
Well, thank you. I'm glad we didn't get 6.5 out of 10. I'd be disappointed.
I thought that would be rude. Ro, do you have any shout outs?
Shout out to everyone in the chat room who came tonight. Thank you for watching. Shout outs again to the Worgensow, since I already mentioned them. I think Worgensow is a great podcast. Shout out to really much anyone who does a podcast, because without you podcasters, I wouldn't have done a podcast about podcasts. And it's just great to see that new shows are still appearing. You know, you hear all this talk about WoW is dying, millions of people are leaving, and yet I still see new World of Warcraft podcasts created every once in a while, and podcasts for other Blizzard games too. So say what you want about the state of WoW. The state of WoW podcasting is in a pretty decent place right now. So yeah, shout out to anyone who makes or listens to podcasts, because that's a good chunk of my life right now, is being part of that whole little slice of the internet. So big shout out to you, Chris. Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, I've been looking forward to returning this favor since I had the pleasure and honor of being on your show, sir.
Oh yeah.
It's great to be on this side of the recording and broadcasting and whatnot. I appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah, I can learn a few things from you about doing a live show. Like I said, I love your setup. One of these days, if I get to doing Realm Maintenance live, I'm going to have to get some tips from you.
I can definitely give you some. I can tell you I threw this overlay together in about 10 minutes. So
that's awesome. I probably would have taken 2 hours with it.
It used to. And with nobody to show me kind of what to do in the beginning, it did. But now it's like anything. You get better at it. And if you're enjoying my overlay work, quick shout out. My first one will be to the crew over at the Converted podcast. If y'all do not know, Mr. Navox has recently left the show. Big shout out to him. Best of luck in everything that he's doing. I've been honored to be asked on that show. So with the lovely Salmisis the Shaman and the incredibly energetic and passionate Belschnickel the Priest, you can find me on Monday nights. So we record up this coming Monday, the next episode of the Converted podcast, which is a podcast about the Convert to Raid Guild.
I feel a little bad right now, cuz.
Did you not know that?
I haven't. I don't always keep up with every episode of the Converted. I have an alt in the Convert to Raid Guild. I did not know you became a co-host. Congrats, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That actually happened last Monday. And nobody.
Right, so I don't feel too bad now. No. It's still like a week fresh. But
and it wasn't. Well, it wasn't a big announcement. It was at the very end of the show. Navox was like, "So, peace." A little bit more than that. Yeah. And it definitely hit right in the feels. But next week will be, in just a few days, will be my first episode with them. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Cool. Should be a whole lot of fun. But that's enough talking about myself. I got 2 podcasts. I know we're running into a wall, so I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet.
We got time for it.
All right. Well, here we go. Since I do have the Realm Maintenance gentleman on here, we're gonna play a couple promos for a couple podcasts that are absolutely wonderful, and I'd highly recommend. First of all, hey, totally Worgen's Hell. Those guys rock. Kaz, Frosty, they've been big supporters here, and I absolutely love their show. But outside of them, Mr. Jack of Skulls has a little podcast. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Ro.
I have.
I believe it's called Dalaran Brilliance.
Yeah, pretty timely time to have a show called Dalaran Brilliance. Dalaran's going to be a big thing in Legion.
How about that?
I'm wondering if he was able to see into the future there.
Well, I do have a little promo for his show. I'm going to cue this up, and here we go.
Once, there was a podcaster named Jack. And Jack had a problem. His podcast was perfect in every way in his eyes, save for one thing. He lacked artistic skills to create a fantastical logo. And then came along Ursangus. So, you're probably wondering how you can hear more of this story. Well, you can listen to more of minicast number 10 of Dalaran Brilliance over at d20crit/podcast/Dalaran-Brilliance. Also, this story have tons of music by Mr. Kevin MacLeod, a very talented musician, and the entire story is hammed up to 11 by me, Jack of Skulls. I hope you enjoy it.
And of course, Jack mentioned the link there in the promo. I will have that in the show notes, of course, so you can hear more of Dalaran Brilliance if you would like. Now, he did mention a name of another community member who I'm a little familiar with, and that's the wonderful Mr. Kinsman Bearmeat, or you might know him as Ursangus. Mr. Ursangus, who he's well known in the Convert to Raid Guild as our head greeter. So when people come into these big guilds, being an AIE, I'm presuming that you have something very similar to our greeters. The folks that welcome folks into the guild. Ursangus is in charge of all those happy, fun, nice people, which is amazing because of the way he is. But he has started a new podcast called Battle Res Bears with Mudala, and he gave me this fun little clip to play. So let's give this a listen.
Hello, listeners. Look at your raid, now back to me. Now back to your raid, now back to me. Sadly, they aren't me. But if they listened to Battle Res Bears, they could sound like me. Look down. Where are you? You're in a raid with a team your team could sound like. What's in your hand? Back to me. It's a dead boss with gear for that class that you love. Look again. The gear is now diamonds. Anything is possible when your team listens to Battle Res Bears. I'm on a Kodo. Forget it.
Now, Ro, I know you couldn't actually hear that promo, but you.
Oh, I could hear it all the way from here. No, I could not be because technology.
Yes, internets. You would. I'm an IT guy, and I'm bad at them. But you have to check that out. He did this. It's this lovely little Old Spice-esque promo for Battle Res Bears. You'll probably hear it around a little bit. But
Diamonds.
yes, diamonds. He knows. Battle Res Bears, great podcast about raiding in Warcraft. Ursengis and Mood definitely have a lot of knowledge about that, and they're doing a great job over there. So that being said, I have 2 very quick iTunes reviews to read this week. Both of them being 5 stars. Thank you so much, guys. The very first one is by Stone from WoW Challenges. Chris actually used the phrase meat and potatoes in a non-sexual manner. Amazeballs. So thanks for that, Stone.
Well played.
And then the next one, entitled Great Show by Chris B. This is Mr. @Bordardo over on Twitter. I have been here since the beginning and I enjoy the show a lot. Cuddles knows a lot for being so new to the game. The only thing I'm not caring for is the world first rating segment. I just zone out because it's not of interest to me. Keep up the great job, @Bordardo. And thanks so much for that, Chris. No more world first news here for a while, so you're out of the woods on that one.
For that.
Exactly. So you're safe to come back. And with that, Ro, thank you so very much for being on the show. As I said, truly an honor and a pleasure. I appreciate you taking time out of your night. I know you took a little bit of time out of raiding.
Yeah, they're working on the first boss or 2 of Hellfire Citadel. I'll jump in on the 3rd boss. It'll all be good. I need that tier helm piece for my Warlock. Oh my gosh, it looks so good for Transmogrification.
What is I hope the Warlock one, I guess it does not look like the Monk one thing, because the Monk one, no. Like a head wrap with a weird little, I get like an S on my, it's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
No,
it just screams Warlock. It'd be hard for me to describe it to you without looking at it right now, but when I first saw it, I'm like, yes, must have.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, I've tried rolling on it like 7 times, used bonus rolls, can't get the stupid thing to drop. Maybe tonight will be the night.
There you go.
Will give me good drop luck.
There you go. We're passing you a little loot luck, and with that, folks, that's going to do it for episode 25. If you'd like to join our live audience and hang out in the chat room, come join us on twitch.tv/thegamecase at 10 p.m. each and every Thursday night. I'd like to thank all of you for listening to episode 25. You can find me on Twitter @Mullet863. You can find the show @TheGameCase Show. You can download us on iTunes and Stitcher. Don't forget those all-important iTunes ratings. If you'd like to give us 5 stars, remember we are on there as The Game Case. If you'd like to give us anything less, remember we are Nate's Frog Giggin' Podcast. Make sure to leave us 2 stars and tell us that we didn't give you any more experience about the world of frog gigging this week. Outside of iTunes and Stitcher, you can catch recordings of the live show or our tips, tricks, and kill videos at youtube.com/thegamecase, or find all of the things on the official site of The Game Case Show. And with that, folks, that's going to do it. Thanks again, Mr. Rowe. Cannot wait to meet you at World of Podcast. Be prepared for a tackle hug, my friend. I cannot wait to get there. And with that, that's going to do it for this episode. Game Case out.
Thank you for joining us this week inside The Game Case. Please join us next week for more news, tips, and ramblings about the World of Warcraft. Game Case out.
World of the Warcraft.
And that's a show.
Yay!
Right on. Well, folks, I was not kidding about Ro having to get out of here. This is normally where we would hang out, probably use some foul language, and talk about things that aren't Warcraft related. Bubes with the W, Bubes.
Yeah, I'm going to jump off right away. But thank you for having me on. I do appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
Hey, thank you, man. I know this was some time out of your evening. I really and truly appreciate it. Have a wonderful night rating. Here's some little... There's some loot luck for you, buddy. Go grab that tier helm.
Feel it. All right. See you later. Thanks, chat room. Have a good one. See you next time.
Adios, Mr. Rowe.
See ya, man. Take care.
All right. Well, guys, that is an episode with Mr. Rowe. That was fun. Gosh, I was so happy to have him on. Like, you want to talk about people that, like, you just, man, it's so cool. Like, he's such a big part of the community, and just so very, very cool to have him around. Thanks, Kaz. Oh, I didn't mention everybody in the chat room. I need to put that in my show notes. Oh well. Oh well, I'm sorry. You guys did a great job. Great job, chat room. Definitely appreciate it. What is this? Yeah, I botched my Audacity, but should have it on Pamela. Might need it. Roe was kind enough to actually record on his end, which is always great, guys. I gotta tell you, for those that do podcast, or if you ever think about podcasting, if you ever have a guest on and they have the ability to record the audio, make sure that they do. Because that could definitely be a boon. I know I feel like the Skype was a little choppy there. It definitely was coming into me. I don't know if that was me. I don't know if that was Roe. I just replaced the processor in my computer, so I'm hoping that I'm not going to be having issues, especially come Monday. But my computer's running 10 times better. So it's always fun when you're trying to do HD video and then stream it, and, you know, things happen. Kaz, I'm now banking on you being in cosplay for World of Podcast. So let's make that happen. But you guys have a wonderful night. I'm going to get to editing this thing. I know. Oh, geez. Was it CB? Was it that bad? Gosh, I hope it wasn't that bad. Well, this didn't seem to be Twitch. This seemed to be the XSplit, like, Skype interface, because he actually looked pretty good over on Skype. It was in the Skype and XSplit. I actually thought about dropping the Skype and then screen capping the actual Skype. I probably maybe should have done that. We'll see how bad it was. I should have good audio-ish. If I have to, I can always use his. Maybe his will be less choppy. But we'll get it done. We'll get it done, guys. I definitely appreciate y'all being in here. Like I said, I am going to log out. I gotta get this thing edited and posted up, and then in about 2 hours, I shall start overnight server maintenance. But make sure to catch us. If you do not normally, I'll be hosting on the Converted, but I'm also going to host that channel in this channel. So if you see me go live on Monday, it'll be on the Converted. Hope y'all can stop in. I'd love to see you guys there. CB, dude, we gotta hang out soon. We need to do a stream. I haven't been doing the streaming quite enough here lately. I need to get some CS:GO action in. Maybe even later tonight. But you've been going to bed early, so I don't know if we can do all that. You're getting all old man on me. Going to bed all early in the evenings. But thanks again, guys. Have a wonderful night. Game